Hello everyone, let's continue with the dialogue sequence for hope. So let's start by selecting the hope prefab and let's add a ORK event interaction to it. So let's go Scene Wizard and let's add a component event interaction. Let's close the dialog. From here is asking us to select existing game event, so let's create a new one by clicking create new event. Let's leave it empty for now and just let's save it. So let's pick it up, our folder, resources, events, the Ark, and let's give it a name, Hope Dialogue Event. Click on Save, close ORK Editor, and let's choose the event from the inspector. Give it a more try. One more try. Okay, so let's select it from the project hierarchy. Thank you, Unity. This is under events. And click OK. There we go, finally. So for the event, for the dialogues, we need to change the type. We can leave it as interact. We don't need to move to interaction in this case, but the most important part is that we need to select the interaction type from event to custom and give it a name here, a custom type, which will be talk uppercase. Remember this magic string. We want to also turn the event to player, which is, well, the event is going to be Hope turning to Lightning when it talks to him. And lastly, let's go to overrides and apply all to save these changes to our prefab. The next step is to add support for this talk custom type event to our InteractionControllerHelper script. So if we go into our scripts folder, then helpers, we have Interaction Controller. Let's open up in Visual Studio. And we have this logic going on here to handle the item collector interaction, if you remember in the past videos. So now we need to do similarly, but for custom interaction types. But in this case, we are going to create a new function to handle that. So the first thing that I want to, let's say, fix here is that if we are going inside the handle item collector interaction, because it's in the update function, so it's going to be check every tick. We need to see if the base interaction that we are returning, because unfortunately from the API there is only this get first available, and you need to pass what type of interaction type you are querying. So let's say if this base interaction is null, so if base interaction equals null, we just return this check. So the next function that we are going to create is going to be almost a copy of this one. So the easiest way is just let's copy the whole function and just modify it accordingly. I can think of best way to do it later on, but for this tutorial, let's just do it like that. So instead of handle item collector interaction, let's call it handle NPC interaction. Again, we want to see if we have an available interaction controller, an available list of interactions. We set our flags again, whether we are interacting or not, for the events that we have in the header here, these actions on start interacting or end interacting. In this case, we want to return the base interaction, but this with the filter interaction type custom, and we need to pass the custom type here, which is talk. So that's why it's very important to remember these magic strings. We already have we are returning null if returning from the function if the base interaction is null, which is okay. But in this case, instead of getting the object mover component from previous logic, we want to select the game object that this base interaction belongs to. Why is that? It's because if you remember here in the action on start interacting, we need to pass a game object. So right now we have this script object mover, so let's create here a private variable, game object, interaction object, and set it to null. So copy the variable and let's paste it over here, interaction object. Let's do a double check if this interaction object is not null, so we can set our variable is interacting to true. In the on start interacting, we can then pass this interacting object. This will raise a problem that we are going to see now, and then add a solution or work around, let's say. So in this case, we don't have any object mover to pause, center to interaction, we don't need any of those. Save the script. Now in the else statement, so if we are not, we don't have any available interactions, we just remove this object mover logic and keep the interacting invoke and the change of the flag. So let's save our script. Let's minimize Visual Studio and let Unity compile the changes. Of course that I forgot to add the new function into the update statement. So let's add it here. Save again, minimize Visual Studio and let Unity compile once more. Once it compiled, for the time being, we had this for the previous version, the previous video, the Ark introduction. So let's just disable it for now and hit play. So we can go straight to hope this time, and you can see that our reticle for interaction is working, but is at the root of the game object, the model. We don't want that. We want that reticle to be at least, I don't know, maybe at the hip level or the chest. So let's work around it. So the easiest, laziest way I found, or I thought to work around this issue with the reticle is by open up the Hope prefab and select the root and create a new game object. Create empty. Let's name it interaction pivot, and let's you can see this in the floor or at the fit level. So let's move it up something like 0.93, and we have autosave, so we can just go back. But before that, we need to let the item, sorry, the InteractionControllerHelper know where this game object is located. So again, the easiest way is just to add a simple empty script that can function as an anchor to let this the interaction controller find this game object. So let's create a blank script. We are already into our helpers script folders. So let's create a new script and let's call it interaction reticle offset. Let's Unity compile. And let's assign the script to our game object. We don't really need to do anything else with this script. It already has, it's transformed with the information that we need. So let's go back to the InteractionControllerHelper and let's add the logic to detect or find this new script. So in a similar way that we did previously for the object mover component, we want, once we get the game object that this base interaction for NPCs is residing to, here after the B is interacting flag set to true, we can add our logic to check for offset. So let's create, let's add the var offset component. So if our interaction object get component in children, remember the hierarchy where we put this game object, is of type or interaction reticle offset. So we look for this component at the children level. If we get it, so if offset is not null, then we call the event on start interacting, but in this case we pass the offset game object. If we don't have any, we do our standard logic that we wrote before. So we are here searching for interaction reticle component, so let's change the var. The compiler at the end will create this interaction reticle. I don't see, I mean, I don't like to use var type of in the C# language because it's lazy. It is good, not practice, but it's good to use it when you don't know from your API, your external API, what you are searching for. So as a base point, you can use the var keyword, but at the end, I think it's just best practice to get the whole reference of the object that you are searching for. Okay, so that is all about this offset thing. Let's save the script, minimize Visual Studio, and let Unity compile again. Let's go back to the scene and click play. And there we go. We have our reticle interaction working as expected. Okay, let's get out of the play mode and now work with the actual interaction talk HUD dialogue. So to display the talk text HUD, we need to go into ORK Framework editor. Let's go to menus, HUDs, and we have this interaction examine HUD previously. So let's just copy that one, change the name to interaction talk. We can leave the interaction box as it is. HUD type is interaction, and here in the interaction settings we need to change. This is not an item interaction anymore, but it's a custom interaction, and again it's asking the custom type, which is talk uppercase. Then if we scroll down, we have the interaction element 0 with the text. Click on edit text and change that text to talk. I'm giving a space in between the words, the characters. Click OK, and don't forget to save the settings. We can now close ORK editor and give it a try. And there we have talk. Okay, so the final test we are going to do is going into our stage scene. Where we had our interaction, these interactions, item collectors floating around. So let's see. We have our game starter, we have the event, and we have, let me see, we are missing here the game instance for the point of interest, and let's just drag the whole prefab into this scene. Let's place it probably here. Let me see where we have this point. Yeah. Save the scene. I'm gonna change the game to maximize on play and Ctrl P to launch play mode. And we have the examine still working. And if we go now to Hope, we have to talk. And it's working as expected. So in the next video we are going to start building the dialogue, the actual dialogue sequence between Hope and Lightning, and see how it goes. Thank you for watching.